Welcome back, Twisters, and hey there, hockey fans. Nick here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about 10 teams I could see myself cheering for this upcoming season in the NHL. I'm excited for the season to get underway. We're just a couple weeks away from, a week away from preseason action, and there are definitely some clubs I have my eye on this upcoming season. Now, I won't talk about every team out there, but nonetheless, even if I don't mention your favorite team, there's still a chance that I could get behind them for a postseason run. You know, I think of a team like Montreal, of course, when they went into the second round and even the third round there, I certainly was supporting them. And there have been other teams like that in the past who I've definitely gotten on board with. Of course, I want to know which teams you might cheer for this upcoming season down in the comments below, so be sure to sound off there. You guys ready to have some fun with this? Leave a thumbs up, subscribe, join the Twist Brigade here, and let's get into it. So my favorite team, most of you know, is the San Jose Sharks. However, I think it's going to be kind of a rough year for San Jose and maybe even the next couple of years as well. I don't see us making the playoffs, but I still will be supporting my team, watching most games, I believe. But there are definitely 10 teams out there who I will have my eye on, and who knows, maybe there are some other ones out there as well. The first one for me is the Seattle Kraken, and part of that is because I live in Kraken territory. I've seen some people wearing Seattle stuff around town here. I'm in North Idaho, closer to Spokane in Eastern Washington. But nonetheless, I've already been chatting with some people, my neighbor, a couple other folks around town who are looking forward to this upcoming season. And it's not just because I live here, but it's also because, well, when I think of recent history, I think of another expansion team who really shook things up in the Pacific Division, and that was the Vegas Golden Knights, and one of the teams that they ran through in their ascendancy were my San Jose Sharks. So I'm kind of hoping that the Seattle Kraken kind of help forge a new rivalry there in the Pacific, in addition to what we'll probably see between them and the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm excited for this upcoming season for Seattle. Of course, I'm actually covering them on thehockeywriters.com, so you can always check out my articles there as well. And yeah, I already just ordered my jersey, and I'm stoked, man. It's going to be awesome having 32 teams in the NHL. So Seattle is definitely like the first team that comes to mind. Second of all, it's got to be these guys right here, the Florida Panthers. I'd say over the last, 3 years or so, maybe 4 years, the Panthers have become really my second favorite team in the NHL. It all started when Yevgeny Dodonov was still on the team, and they had just a ridiculous forward core. And even though some of that personnel has changed over time, you know, you think of Mike Hoffman, you think of somebody like, Brett Connolly was a signing a couple of years ago as well. And then in come Anthony Duclair, Alexander Wenberg, now he's out of the way. Then they bring in Sam Reinhart. They just have such an exciting group of forwards there. And if they have a healthy Aaron Ekblad, who knows, they could potentially be poised for maybe winning a playoff series. And man, oh man, the real cherry on top of the sundae is Jumbo Joe Thornton coming over to Florida. So I'm most definitely cheering for them this season as sort of my favorite team who I think should be in the playoffs. I think they have a pretty good chance there. Not to mention, man, if Spencer Knight can look like he did in those postseason appearances against Tampa, woo! The next team I'll talk about is one who I will automatically support, and that's the Minnesota Wild. Of course, my enthusiasm for them will be even higher the more competitive they are. And of course, if Kirill Kaprizov can stay on the team, because man, when he's there, I love that chemistry between him and Zuccarello. They've lost a few players this offseason. You look at, of course, Suter, Parisi, Carson Soucy going over to the Seattle Kraken. But nonetheless, I got to show some love for the state of hockey, especially as a Minnesota Vikings fan. So I'd love to see Minnesota back in the playoffs, but I think a few things have to really happen in order for them to be a contender, even in that hyper-competitive division. I certainly have to emphasize that there too. Next up, I'll talk about two teams who aren't going to be anywhere near contention, but they have a special place in my heart. That's the Buffalo Sabres and the Arizona Coyotes. So I don't expect anything from these two teams this year and probably for the foreseeable future, honestly. I just hope to see some development out of Buffalo, especially once Owen Power makes the jump into the NHL. And Arizona, I just hope they have some sort of plan together to, at the very least, keep the team in Arizona. I do feel for the fans over there most definitely. Not too much to say other than that, but I'll always cheer for a couple teams who sort of are down on their luck, honestly. And I'll even get into one or two of them who've kind of come out of that too. So When I think of the Sabres, for example, I think of the life of the Buffalo sports fan. It's not an easy one. At least now they have the Bills, but the Sabres are in a dark period, to say the least. And as for Arizona, I've learned even more about that sports market, courtesy of my guy, Matt Jacobson, aka the AZ Sports Guy here on YouTube. It's not easy being an Arizona sports fan either. So I do feel for them, and I do like to show some support for some of those teams in the Sun Belt or in non-traditional markets as well. Next up are two teams who I think who are starting to come out of that dark period, and I expect some exciting hockey from them this season. So they're the two teams behind me here, the New Jersey Devils and the Ottawa Senators. Now, typically as a West Coast guy, I normally don't really cheer for a team on the East Coast, but if I'm going to cheer for one, who knows, maybe New Jersey could become that team. I was a little skeptical when they made the playoffs a couple of years ago because I thought that their sample size was pretty small there. But now when you consider that they've added Dougie Hamilton, they've added Tomas Tatar, they're going to score some goals with them. And that forward core of theirs, led by Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, that started coming together last season. So I have some high hopes there. They brought in Ryan Graves to hopefully stabilize the backside a little bit for Mackenzie Blackwood. So I think he's going to have a better season there. I definitely see myself cheering for New Jersey out of that division more than I typically have. And I mean, back in the 90s and the early aughts, I did like New Jersey a fair amount as well. As for the Ottawa Senators, man, I didn't watch very much of the North Division last year, but when I turned on Ottawa, they were actually pretty exciting. The guy who actually stood out to me personally was Drake Batherson, but of course you've got Stützle back there, and you've got Josh Norris, San Jose Sharks draft pick, and you have a couple others as well who I haven't even talked about, like Brandstrom. Goaltending is certainly going to be a question mark for this team for the time being, but I still am looking forward to what they're going to do, and I love that they rebranded, or at least went back to their 90s branding. I think that just is a classier look, and so Ottawa, who knows, I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the playoffs this year, but at least I could see them finishing maybe around 80 points, 85 points. I think that would be a nice progression for them. The next team I want to talk about, well, I got a couple here. The first of which has already won a Stanley Cup in recent history, and it's a team who I will never kind of fall off the wagon for, at least while he's still around, and I'm talking about Alex Ovechkin, of course. So the Washington Capitals, I just want to see Ovi win one more Stanley Cup before he wraps it up in his career, and I have no problem with him doing it with the Capitals. I'm a huge TJ Oshie fan. He's like my favorite player who's not on the Sharks, and so I wouldn't mind seeing Washington do it one more time. And then after that, I think we can put a bow on that. So I got them there. The next team, I'm not like a huge fan of them, but I've got them on this list because when they're on their game, they are so exciting to watch. And that's the Colorado Avalanche. So I want to see, of course, Nathan MacKinnon win a Stanley Cup. It doesn't have to happen this next season, but of course, with that core that they have between Rantanen, Landeskog, and then you look at the defense when you have guys like Makar and Byram and Girard as well, I'm excited to see what this team can do. Darcy Kemper is now the starting goaltender, and I think that he can put together a pretty solid season. He's got some big shoes to fill, but nonetheless, I think Colorado is still a team who should be toward the top of that Central Division, if not at the top. So I'm looking forward to how they can build on at least their regular season successes and hopefully get past the second round eventually. The next team I want to talk about, actually, this is the last of the 10. This is a team that I was high on the wagon for, most definitely this previous season and a couple seasons leading into that. Not a fan of what they did particularly in the offseason, but nonetheless, when I think of how they've really built a name for themselves as a non-traditional market, I have to tip my cap there, and that's the Carolina Hurricanes. So they were my cup pick last season before things got underway. They ran into the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're missing an ingredient or two. I don't know if they exactly addressed that this offseason. I don't like how Waddell traded away Nedeljkovic. They didn't even get that much for him, honestly. Not re-signing Dougie Hamilton, I don't think that gets under my skin personally too much. I don't like the D'Angelo signing, in all honesty. But at the end of the day, I like the way that they have been building their team over the past couple of seasons. I loved Jacob Slavin on the backside, and even Brett Pesce too. And I really like Rod Brind'Amour quite a bit as well. So I'll still be supporting Carolina to some degree, I would say. Okay, and then a couple other teams that I want to highlight because these teams have former San Jose Sharks, and I haven't mentioned them yet. So first of all, the New York Rangers with Barclay Goodrow. Certainly an exciting team to watch this upcoming season. And don't worry, Isles fans, I like you guys quite a bit as well. And so as long as you have Barry Trotz, I'm always going to be cheering for you in some capacity. The next team I'll highlight is the Winnipeg Jets. They have Brendan Dillon now that they traded for him with the Washington Capitals. And Dylan DeMello sticks around there as well. So Dilly, I definitely have to watch them a few times this year. Really like what Winnipeg's done, and they've kind of just fallen in under the radar. They've been flying below the flight deck, actually. So I might find myself pulling for them at some point this year. And I got to give it up for the Philly Flyers for not only having Justin Braun, but also Martin Jones. I mean, I'd love to see him return. I don't think he's going to return to form, but to do a little bit better, I'd be really happy for Jonesy if he could do that, because I'll always remember what he did in his first 3 seasons in San Jose. So anyway, those are just 10 teams and then some. And if you look at my ideal Stanley Cup matchup, like one that's realistic, I'm not going to say like Sharks versus, Senators or Sharks versus Sabres. All right, this is the Stanley Cup matchup that I want to see most, okay? Here we go. It's a repeat of 1996, but let's flip the script. The Florida Panthers go into Colorado, Game 7, let's say, and they defeat the Avalanche. And Joe Thornton has a Ray Bourque moment in Colorado. And I think the fans would stand and cheer for him there. And in that series, I would love this more than anything else in a series like that. He lays out Nazem Kadri, not to injure him, but he puts him on his butt pretty hard. Because not only has Kadri done some dirty things in the playoffs, not that Thornton hasn't, by the way. I know it, okay? But also, those two guys scrapped against each other when they were in Toronto and San Jose. And Kadri got a piece of Jumbo's beard. So I'd like to see Thornton just get a little bit extra revenge there. I'd like to see Spencer Knight have a Cam Ward, Conn Smythe-worthy postseason run there. Barkov versus Landeskog, Huberdeau versus McKinnon. I think that series would be fantastic. Maybe not the best ratings, but damn it, South Florida, it's your time to at least win a series and make a run here. So that's what I want to see this upcoming season. Who are you going to be cheering for other than your favorite team? Of course, let me know down in those comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and join the Twist Brigade. And check out the video description where you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, in addition to buying some snazzy Twisted Wrister Hockey merch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Nick. I'll catch you Twisters later. Ciao.